Dark Elf raiders have long been a problem to all denizens of the Old World. The coasts of Ulthuan are among their favourite targets, but they are just as comfortable raiding to the east, plundering the coasts of the Empire in Bretonnia, or going west to raid the coasts of Lustria. Though the temple cities of lizardmen pose a tempting target, on occasion the Amazon tribes will find themselves victims of such a raid. In the year 2520, under the command of Avrendhil Swifthand, one such raiding ship sailed along the coast of Lustria, scouting for potential targets. Eventually, he settled on attacking the island of Shukabiki, noticing evidence of a newly formed tribe of Amazons setting up on it. Relative to attacking Amazon Island itself, it would make easy pickings, and he brought his ships in to begin the assault. Unbeknownst to Avrendhil, the jungle stalkers of his target, the Aenir tribe, were watching as he sailed the coast of the island. As he moved to make landfall, they hurried back to their tribe to warn their leader, Bardida. She quickly assembled her host of warriors, and they hurried through the undergrowth to meet the invaders. The stalkers found the Dark Elves again a short distance inland, taking advantage of some relatively open terrain to set up their Reaper bolt thrower and prepare to establish their camp. The stalkers signaled back to Bardida, who ordered the attack. The Amazons let out a fierce war cry as they emerged from the trees, giving Avrendhil's crew mere moments to assemble themselves to battle. The Battle of Avrendhil's Landing was about to begin. Today's game is a 500-ish point battle of Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition warbands between Dark Elves and a custom Amazon faction that I have built based upon the Amazon army from the Warhammer Armies project. It hasn't been tested yet, so this game may prove a little one-sided if they are incorrectly tuned, but I'm confident most of it is fairly costed. But before we can get further into this video, real quick, this video was sponsored by me and the game I made. It's called Bloodfeud, and it's a vampire-themed wargame designed to play equally well on both real tabletops and virtual ones. It's intended to be small scale, with only 9 models aside at most, and only needing a 3-foot square to play in. I designed the game around campaign play, making it pretty easy to get a single continuous narrative out of the game. You can pick up a copy by following the link in the description below if you so feel like it, and I'll do a battle report for it eventually. Coming back to the game, the Dark Elf army deploys first. It is led by Avrendhil Swifthand, a Dark Elf noble wearing heavy armor and a sea dragon cloak, and carrying an additional hand weapon. His army comprises of 2 units of 10 Corsairs, taking up central positions on the battlefield. He joins one of the units of Corsairs, looking to bring his might to bear in the center of the fight. On the flanks, he has 2 units of 5 warriors with repeater crossbows. One adopts a semi-defensive position to watch the hill, while the other goes far to the right flank, intending to push through the jungle to get a better position. Finally, at the rear of his army sits a Reaper bolt thrower, ready to decimate any unit that crests the hill or exposes itself to its line of fire. The Amazon army deploys opposite, in the cover of the jungle. All Amazon units may ignore forests, much like Wood Elves, making this position entirely tenable for them. They are led into battle by Bardida, an Amazon mistress. She carries a shield, wears light armor, and is equipped with the Huntress's headdress. She goes into battle with 20 Amazon warriors as her retinue. On the right flank of the battlefield, she deploys her cavalry, Huntresses mounted atop jaguars, and Colchian riders atop their massive bird mounts. On the left flank sits 10 Piranha warriors across the river, and 5 jungle stalkers positioned in the undergrowth ahead, watching the Dark Elf formation. Obviously, being a homebrewed army, most of these units mean little to anyone, so I'm also testing out a new display for combat and rules to give better context to what is going on in the battle. Both sides roll for the first turn, and the Amazons win the roll-off with a 2. They opt to take the first turn of this battle. The Amazons begin the battle advancing on the enemy. Down the center, the warriors full advance towards the hill, while the Colchian riders slow down a bit to stop short of the incline, not exposing themselves to the Reaper bolt thrower. On the right flank, the Huntresses have made a full advance, aiming to pounce on the exposed warriors and crush them under paw. Meanwhile, on the left flank, the Piranha warriors advance, and the jungle stalkers emerge to fire on the Dark Elf warriors. Hidden among the undergrowth, they aren't easy to hit, and none of the Amazon arrows find their mark. The Dark Elves also advance, stopping shy of the hill, ready to capitalize if the Amazons cross onto the ridge. On the left, the Dark Elf warriors wheel to fire at the Jungle Stalkers. Despite having 10 shots, the long range, awkwardness of moving and firing, difficulty of shooting at such a loose formation and cover, and the innate inaccuracy of their weapons as they're fired quickly mean they can't land a single shot. On the right, the Dark Elves hold their ground and fire at the Huntresses. They're also firing 10 shots, but these shots are much easier. Despite that, they are aiming to wound rather than kill, to ensure they take as many captives as possible, and only 3 shots find their mark. One of them wounds a Huntress, sending her tumbling to the ground beside her jaguar. Finally, the Reaper Bolt Thrower fires a volley of 6 shots at the Piranha Warriors. Despite the long range and loose formation of the Piranha Warriors, 4 shots hit, and 2 of them wound their targets badly enough to take them out of the fight. The Huntresses prepare to seek their revenge, charging at the Dark Elf warriors. The Elves raise their crossbows and open fire once more, trying to panic the charging Amazons. Only 4 of their 10 shots hit, with 3 of them threatening to wound the Huntresses. They manage to get their shields up, however, blocking 2 of them, so only 1 Huntress is knocked out, and the remaining 3 charge into the warriors, ready to tear them apart. On the other flank, the Jungle Stalkers move to better fire at the Dark Elves, while the Piranha Warriors hurry into the cover of the jungle to shelter their advance. In the center of the formation, the Kulchan Riders use their loose formation and fast mounts to rapidly wheel around the Corsairs, threatening to charge their flank, while the jungle covers their flank from the danger posed by the Reaper Bolt Thrower. The warriors advance up to the base of the hill, preparing to step up and take the fight. The Jungle Stalkers fire at the Dark Elf warriors again. Now all 5 of them can fire, and 1 arrow finds its mark. Their arrows are tipped with poison, and the arrow punches through the armor, dooming the Dark Elf to a painful death as he quickly succumbs to the nauseating effects of the arrow and falls to the ground. The Huntresses collide with the Dark Elf warriors. With their leopards assisting, they technically outnumber the Dark Elves, even if it doesn't look like it. The Huntresses attack with their spears, but of the 3 women, only 1 lands a hit. It's a glancing blow that fails to do any damage. The leopards join in, but only 1 of their attacks connects, and it fails to do any damage. The Dark Elves strike back with their spears, and manage to land 3 hits, 2 of which would knock the Huntress out. One of them is caught by the Huntress's shield, but the other wounds its target, securing victory for the Dark Elves in this bout, though the Huntresses remain in the fight for now. The Dark Elves adopt a largely defensive plan as the battle develops. The warriors on the left walk forward, though not far enough to leave the cover, to get a bit closer to the stalkers they're targeting, and open up a line of sight to them for the Reaper Bolt Thrower. Meanwhile, Avrendhil's unit reforms to face the Kulchans. The other Corsairs remain in place, knowing if they advance onto the hill, they will expose their flanks to the Kulchan Riders. The Jungle Stalkers come under fire from both the warriors and the Reaper Bolt Thrower. The warriors make 8 attacks, but none of them connect. The Reaper Bolt Thrower, meanwhile, makes 6 shots, and 2 of them fly dangerously close to the Jungle Stalkers, inflicting glancing wounds and causing 1 to stumble, but no serious damage is inflicted. Finally, on the right flank, the warriors continue to fight with the Huntresses. Only 4 of them can reach the women, but all 4 hit, and 1 of them manages to land a powerful blow that slips past the Huntress's armor, knocking her off her leopard and into the clutches of the Dark Elves. The remaining Huntress puts up a valiant fight with her leopard, both of them managing to land a blow, but both failing to do any damage. This time, she sees that this fight is lost and turns to flee. The Dark Elves give chase, but they fail to make any real distance. The remaining Huntress flees from the battle, as the rest of the Amazon forces continue their advance. The Kulchans continue to exploit their speed, rushing to the flank of the Corsairs and threatening to charge at the Reaper Bolt Thrower in the coming moments, while the rocks protect their flank from the most threatening of the bolt throwers' attacks. Knowing that only one unit of Corsairs can threaten them, the warriors now crest the hill to take the fight, while the Piranha warriors emerge from the jungle to assault the Dark Elf warriors. The Jungle Stalkers once more fire on the Dark Elf warriors, and 2 arrows find their mark. Unfortunately, these ones fail to poison anyone or hit anything sufficiently vital to take the elves out, and they continue to fight. As the Amazon warriors crest the ridge and occupy the hill, the Corsairs charge. Avrendhil's men wheel to face the battle, preparing to join in on the flank if the Corsairs can hold out long enough. On the right flank, the warriors march forward to find some contributions they can make to the rest of the battle. On the left, the warriors have turned their focus to the Piranha warriors bearing down on them and threatening to overrun them. They provide easier targets than the Jungle Stalkers, as they do not have the same cover to hide behind, and of the 8 attacks, 3 find their mark. One of them manages to wound its target, knocking them out of the fight. In the rear, the bolt thrower fires 6 bolts at the Cauldron Riders. 4 of them hit the Amazons, and 3 of them manage to inflict enough damage to knock their targets out of the fight. This threatens to panic the remaining 2 riders, but they hold their nerve and stay in the fight. Having charged into battle, the Corsairs unleash a ferocious onslaught of blades, making 10 attacks. 8 of them make contact with the Amazons, 5 of them threatening to strike down their targets. The Amazons are quick and skillful with their shields, however, and 3 blows are deflected, leading to only 2 Amazon warriors falling in the fight. The Mistress strikes back, her 3 attacks hitting and inflicting serious damage upon the Corsairs. The Sea Dragon cloak of the Corsairs is enough to protect one of them, but the other 2 fall dead. The Amazon warriors who still stand in the fight strike back, but fail to make any meaningful connection. The Amazon warriors win the fight decisively with their large formation and advantageous position. Despite this, they see the danger that Avrendhil poses to their flank, and they opt to take advantage of their superior mobility to fall back. This is where we have to take a quick step out of the narrative to talk about one of the Amazon's special rules, arguably their most important one, guerrilla warfare. After winning a combat, Amazons may choose to fall back. They have to pass a leadership test to do so, but then they immediately fall back as if they lost. The enemy isn't allowed to pursue them and still has to take a break test to avoid running away from the fight. This rule is based on the hit and run rules of Pterodons and Warhawks, but is a bit more flexible and a bit more restricted to try and prevent it from being completely overpowered, but it still might be. Further testing will tell. Back to the battle. The Amazons successfully fall back 11 inches, pulling them safely away from both Corsair units. The Corsairs almost flee, but the watchful presence of their captain keeps them holding steady. Having survived the onslaught from the bolt thrower, the Cauldrons now charge the war machine, and the crew hurry forward to protect it and engage the Amazons and their birds in combat. Behind them, the Amazon warriors rush back towards the hill, eager to re-engage the fight. On the left flank, the Piranha warriors rush towards the Dark Elves, and the Jungle Stalkers emerge from the jungle to continue firing on the enemy. The Piranha warriors throw their javelins at the Dark Elves. They have 7 missiles, but only 2 of them find their mark. One of them hits just right to let its poison sink in, while the other fails to do any damage. The elf gets lucky, his armor not cracking under the javelin, leaving him with little more than a rough bruise, unaware of how close he came to a painful death. The Jungle Stalkers also open fire. Only one of their 5 arrows finds its mark. As luck would have it, the same warrior is struck and at risk of being poisoned. This time, his armor doesn't protect him, and he succumbs to the poison. As the warriors on the flank open fire on the enemy, the Cauldron Riders close in and engage with the crew of the bolt thrower. The Amazon spears and the Cauldron beaks hit just as hard, and between them they make 4 attacks, 3 of which find their mark. One of them proves a fatal blow, killing the crew member who stood against them. His remaining friend fights back and manages to hit and wound one of the 2 Cauldron Riders. She can't get her shield around in time, and the attack strikes her dead. Despite this small victory, the surviving crew member flees the battle, and the Cauldron Rider gives chase off the battlefield for the moment. Seeing that the Amazon warriors have approached again, the Corsairs charge into the fight once more. Avrendhil leads his men forward to threaten the Amazon warriors' flank if the Corsairs can keep them tied up long enough. The Dark Elf warriors on the right flank hurry forward, wheeling to face the Amazon warriors and preparing to open fire if this fight goes poorly. On the left flank, the Dark Elf warriors fire at the Piranha warriors. Despite only firing 6 shots, they land 4 hits, all of which are aimed at vital points. One Amazon catches a bolt on her shield, but the other 3 are all taken out of the fight. Despite the serious losses, the Piranha warriors' nerve holds and they refuse to flee. The Corsairs crash into the Amazon lines, unleashing a brutal assault of 10 attacks. Only 4 of them connect with the Amazons, and of those, only 2 threaten to do any damage. One Amazon manages to deflect the blow with her shield, leaving only 1 to fall to the Corsairs' assault, securing the Amazons the victory in this fight before they've even attacked. Bardita leads the counterattack, all 3 of her blows connecting with the Corsairs, but only 1 deals enough damage to wound one of her foes. His armor proves useless against the blow, and he's slain by the Amazon's ferocity. The Amazon warriors also make 3 attacks. Only 1 connects, and it fails to do any serious damage. Despite this, the Amazons still achieve a substantial victory, and they choose to remain in the fight. This time, the Corsairs flee, and the Amazons give chase, both formations running 7 inches, leading to the Corsairs being fully driven from the field. The advance along the left flank comes to a head as the Piranha warriors charge into the Dark Elf warriors. At such a short distance, the Dark Elf warriors don't have time to fire and could do nothing but brace for the charge. Behind them, the single remaining Kultran rider rushes up into position, ready to catch them should they flee the battle. Without their usual target, the Jungle Stalkers once again move, filling the space the Piranha warriors vacated to be able to fire on Avrendhil's Corsairs. Bardita, meanwhile, leads her forces to reform and face the rear of Avrendhil's men, threatening to engage and tear them apart. The Jungle Stalkers open fire on the Corsairs. Despite the long range and firing on the move, they manage to land 3 hits, none of which manage to poison the Elves, but 2 of which strike vital areas. 1 arrow is caught on the Sea Dragon cloak of its target, preventing the damage, while the other fells its foe. Just to their west, the Piranha warriors are engaged in fierce combat with the Dark Elf warriors. The Piranha warriors land 2 blows on the Dark Elves, one of which is powerful enough to wound and kill their target. The Dark Elves fight back, giving up any pretense of wounding their foes as they fight for their lives. Though only 2 remain, one manages to hit and wound a Piranha warrior, and they hold their nerve, refusing to flee and risk being caught by the Kultran behind them. Avrendhil brings his Corsairs around to face Bardita and her warriors. At this point, the battle is rapidly slipping from his grasp, and it will take a streak of good luck to achieve victory. The Dark Elf warriors behind him wheel and open fire on the Amazon warriors. They make 10 shots, but only 2 of them hit. They both prove to be effective, and though one is caught on the shield, the other wounds one of the warriors, taking her out of the battle. The other warriors are still tied up in their fight with the Piranha warriors. Their superior elven speed lets them strike first, and one of them manages to land a glancing blow on a Piranha warrior. It's not enough to do any damage, and the Amazons strike back. 2 of them connect, but neither of them are powerful enough to wound, and the combat resolves once more slightly in the Amazon favor. This time, the Dark Elves do break, fleeing through the Kultran and scattering as the Piranhas give chase. As the battle begins to draw to a close, Bardita leads her warriors in a final charge on the Dark Elf position, determined to cut down the mastermind behind this raid and put a stop to future Dark Elf aggression. Behind her, the rest of her forces fall back, unable to do anything else before the battle ends, and seeking cover from the repeater crossbows of the Dark Elf warriors. As the 2 units approach, Bardita spots Avrendhil giving orders and singles him out, bellowing a challenge. The elf is unable to understand her words, but her intentions are clear from her body language, and he steps to the side, ready to receive her attack in the charge. Bardita changes direction, charging into Avrendhil and hitting him with a deadly onslaught. The Huntress's headdress finally comes into effect, empowering her with an extra attack on the charge. She lands 2 hits. The first catches him across the face, leaving a nasty cut and causing his ears to ring. As Avrendhil is disoriented, Bardita strikes an exposed arm, cutting his hand off at the wrist. Avrendhil screams in pain and backs away, unable to continue the fight. Unfortunately for Bardita, her warriors are unable to contribute as much to the fight as she did. They make 4 attacks, none of which hit. The Corsairs strike back with 8 attacks, 6 of them hit, and 4 wound. The Amazon warriors fail to defend themselves, and the whole first rank falls in the fight, leaving the fight a draw, and things looking very bad for the Amazons in the final moments of the battle, even as Avrendhil is defeated. With Avrendhil down, the Dark Elves know they need to get out quickly if they want their leader to survive. That the battle is naturally drifting to its conclusion is a blessing in disguise, even if they can't snatch victory here. The Dark Elf warriors open fire on the Piranha warriors, the only exposed target, trying to drive them further into cover to allow the Corsairs to escape. They miss with every shot. Atop the hill, the Corsairs strike once again, making 10 attacks against the Amazon warriors. Their luck holds, as they manage to connect with 7 attacks, and 5 of them threaten to wound the Amazons. One of them is caught on a shield, but the other 4 strike true, knocking the warriors out of the fight. Bardita strikes back, trying to make up the deficit in impact. Though all 3 of her attacks hit, she only manages to wound 1, and the Amazons lose the fight by a thin margin. Their nerve breaks, and they flee the fight, the Corsairs giving chase. They manage to escape their pursuers, only a few of the fallen being snatched as captives as the Corsairs turn towards the ships. Seeing their leader sent fleeing, and their numbers reduced by the fight, the Amazons let the Elves flee to the ship, retreating to nurse their wounds. Though their lands have been protected, the pride of the tribe takes a bruise after Bardita and her warriors flee. Likewise, though the Dark Elves escaped largely intact, the loss of Avrendhil's hand does not match up with the few captives they managed to take. Neither side will call this a defeat, but likewise, neither can claim victory this day. As implied, this battle ended in a draw. It was close to an Amazon victory, but the Corsairs rolled incredibly well 2 turns in a row and just swung the battle massively back towards the Dark Elves. Even that final break test, if it went just a little bit better, would have kept the Amazons victorious. In hindsight, that charge might have been foolish, but Bardita hadn't gone to use her magic item yet, and I love making characters fight epic duels, so I doubt I'd have done anything differently given the chance. My overall thoughts after this first test is that I think the Amazons are fine. They're very mobile, but they have next to no armor, so they didn't feel imbalanced, as I never felt particularly safe going into combat. I was worried guerrilla warfare would be overpowered, but using it comes at the opportunity cost of giving chase to the enemy, so I think it's fine, though further testing will obviously be necessary. This is my first video back in a while. Normally, I'd tell you what to tune in for next time and when it'll be, but I honestly have no idea what's next. What I can tell you is that it most likely won't be the campaign. I think that project is just dead in the water unless there's a sudden big influx of interest in it. The videos take a long time to make, and the second episode didn't really do great. Regardless of what's coming next though, if you want to hear about it, please do subscribe, and don't forget to do all the fun engagement stuff like liking and commenting so I have more incentive to make another video.